Good evening, everyone. My name is Sriram from the Commodity and Currency Research Desk at Reliance Securities. This is the Commodity and Currency Outlook for 19th August 2022. So, starting with the currencies today, the Indian rupee weakened against the US dollar this Thursday's trade as hawkish comments from Fed policymakers supported the greenback in this Thursday afternoon. Most of the Asian and emerging market peers also weakened, led by declines in the Chinese yuan, while a rebound in crude oil prices this Thursday afternoon also weighed on the local unit in this afternoon session. In the overseas market, the US dollar recovered and hovered above the 106.50 levels this Thursday afternoon, lifted by the hawkish Fed minutes, while the euro struggled against the greenback in Thursday afternoon trade as investors balance the ECB policy tightening path against the region's economic outlook. The Eurozone inflation numbers came in and still remained elevated, while growth also remained sluggish. So, the main trigger for the currency markets will be the hawkish statement which was made by, or hawkish minutes which was released yesterday. This will continue to push the dollar higher, which will in turn keep the domestic rupee under pressure as well in the coming few sessions. But the currency movements can depend on the data now, as well as the assessments of how the economy is adapting to the rising interest rates, both in the US side and in the Eurozone side as well. Most of the central banks have aggressively tightened monetary policy. So, looking ahead, of course, we have the ECB meeting in the second week of September, but other policymakers, the Bank of England, and other policymakers like the Swiss National Bank are also expected to hike rates aggressively to cool inflation, and that will be the key trigger for the markets in the short run. The range for the dollar index in the coming Friday session will be anywhere between 106.30 to 107.40, while locally we see the demand for dollars remains intact from importers. Of course, the recent hawkish Fed minutes and a bounce in the crude oil prices could continue to keep our local unit under pressure. So the range for this spot pair, USD spot pair, is anywhere between 79.10 to 79.80 in the coming session. Moving to the commodity side of things, starting with crude oil prices, international and domestic oil prices remained choppy this Thursday's session, but rebounded from yesterday's lows as falling US crude oil inventories offset fears of global economic slowdown in the coming few months. Robust US fuel consumption and expected falls in Russian supply later this year also lifted the markets in this Thursday's trade. Looking ahead, prices could continue to remain volatile in this Thursday's evening session, and possibly continue to consolidate over the Friday session as well. Again, the market movements can be dollar and data dependent in the coming few sessions. So, range for the domestic crude oil prices will be anywhere between 6975 to 7175 in this Thursday evening and early Friday morning. Moving to the bullion side of things, international and domestic gold prices steadied. International prices steadied above 1760 per ounce, while domestic also remained extremely range bound in this Thursday's trade. Of course, markets slid yesterday after hawkish Fed minutes. Today too, initially we saw some correction briefly as traders digested the latest US federalism policy minutes. But strong dollar, which continued its uptick this Thursday afternoon trade, kept upside. But the bond deals, US benchmark bond deals, struggled this Thursday afternoon and kept the downside limited. So markets continue to remain extremely range bound and volatile this Thursday session. Looking ahead, prices could continue to remain volatile and choppy, possibly this Thursday evening ahead of that important jobless claims and Philly Fed index due in the next couple of hours. But we see range bound and choppy movements for gold and silver in the coming few sessions as well. With mainly on Friday, we see extremely range bound price action. So, range for the domestic gold prices is anywhere between 51,700 to 52,200 this Thursday session, while silver can remain within the broad trading band of 55,700 to 57,700 in this Thursday. Finally, briefly on base metals, international and domestic copper aluminum prices remained range bound this Thursday's trade. But on Wednesday, we saw aluminum prices jump higher amid supply concerns. Copper continued to struggle as hawkish Fed pushed the dollar higher and weighed on sentiments. But looking ahead, like the precious metal markets, the base metal markets could also remain data dependent and dollar movement dependent. And we see the main trigger for today's market will be the jobless claims data and fully Fed index, and both could move the market. So till that time, markets could continue to remain range bound, and range for the copper, domestic copper, will continue between 655 to 675, and aluminium again could consolidate between 208 to 214 in this Thursday evening and early Friday morning session. So that's it from our side. Thank you for listening. Have a pleasant day ahead. Thank you.